Hey there everybody, and welcome back for another weekly look around the yard and gardens. It is now September here, and what's getting already to be kind of a chillier Manitoba. Gonna be dropping down to 4 degrees a couple nights from now, so figured we'd take a look at the pepper garden, see what's going on. I've got my clipboard here because we've got a list of all the different peppers that I tried to grow this year. We're going to basically do a roll call, see what grew, what didn't, what produced, what didn't, and kind of start making next year's plans from there. Alright, could be a long one, grab a coffee, and yeah, otherwise let's just get going. So forgive the printing, but basically what I did with my list here is I took all the peppers that were growing at the time, did a quick Google search, came up with approximations for their Scoville rankings, and kind of tried to organize them that way. Sadly, a few of these varieties are no longer with us. I know that Kung Pao's not here anymore. I don't think the Charleston made it. Pretty sure the Thai Dragon didn't make it. No, the Indian Jwala didn't make it. Yes, but we'll go through this and see how they look. So first on our list is the Antohi Sweet Pepper. Seemed to do alright. Kind of got a little bit of extra shading from the peppers around it here, so probably should have planted it a bit more forward. It has tried to put on some peppers for me this year, is still trying, and there are, a couple on here. So I'm going to count this among the more successful peppers this year because there are a lot that are only just starting to flower now. So next year I think I'll try and grow one of these again. Got a nice one here for the upcoming tasting, so that's good. What's next? Guess next we've got that unpronounceable chili. We know it's alive and did well. According to the Scoville heat units, 1 to 2,000, so not a really hot one. But this one definitely produced. You may recall last week it was falling over on me from the pepper weight, so got a twig in here now. Not huge peppers, but a nice color to them. Certainly very abundant. I think they'd make a nice little side serving of a stuffed pepper. Still haven't looked into what a mole is, but this is definitely a regrow pepper. Next on my list is the Sugar Rush varieties. I never could find a proper heat rating for these guys, so I just jotted them down as sweet. This one here in the back gardens, I would say has been far more productive than the ones in the front. And I might just try and overwinter this, add it to the jungle. Not quite decided. So I'd like to hear people's thoughts on that one. Might survive a good pruning and replanting, but not sure. At any rate, let's check the ones out front. For the most part, these 3 Sugar Rush varieties all seem fairly happy in the front yard. The cold nights are starting to take their toll. Of the 3 though, the one that was the peach variety seems to have been the most productive. Not seeing quite a peach color on there yet, so I'm letting them go a little bit longer. But looking forward to trying those. Too bad it's getting so cold so quick around here. That red looked like it was going to do some good things. There are a couple of peppers on there. But all in all, I'd say the Sugar Rush in the back, by far the most productive. Probably the place to plant those next year. Next on the list is the Humble Garden Salsa pepper. This puppy ranks in at about 3,000 Scoville units, so on par with a jalapeno. Again, a very productive pepper for me. I see lots of green ones on there, a couple of nice red ones for a tasting. These ones were new to me last year when I moved to the area, and yeah, I will definitely be growing them again next year. Nice color, nice productive pepper. Still trying. Kind of thinking I might want to bring this one inside too. Be nice to have something super productive growing even if they're not super hot. Which I guess brings us to the Nepalese Belle. Ranks in at a mere 5,000 Scoville. And it's safe to say this is among the most punished of the pepper plants on the property. And yet, we still have 2 peppers that formed on this for me. So as you can see, it's in the Folgers can. It's part of the collection that are set to go back inside. So since the Kung Pao is no longer with us, that brings us to the Ahi Verde. ranks in at around 10,000 Scoville units apparently. I have two of these in a side garden this year. This beautiful specimen here, and this lovely towering plant right here, both of which seem to do alright in the environment. There are a couple of peppers on here. Let's see if I can find one. A little one right there. Probably a few on the other plant as well. Or not. It looks like there are plenty of starts, but nothing that's even going to come close to finishing off this season. So the plants grew very well, but didn't really get productive until a little too late in the season. Not quite sure if I'll grow these next year. Probably give them a try. Perhaps bring them out a little sooner. Anyway, what's next? Next up we have the El Oro de Ecuador. Ranks in at about 30 to 50,000 Scoville apparently. I have two of these growing. This is the one in the soil garden out back. The one in the containers up front is, well, it's not a happy plant. But there are multiple reasons for that. Definitely productive enough that I'm going to try and regrow this next year. And yeah, a very nice looking plant. Very happy with the El Oro de Ecuador. Brings us to the billy goat pepper. Again, 30 to 50,000 Scoville. Again, I've got two of them going. And the one in the soil looks significantly better. So we'll go take a look at that right up in front of that monster weed. Here we can actually see the billy goat pepper plant itself. And again, the one in the soil looks just ridiculously healthier than the one in the container. This likes to spread out, I think, but very, very productive. Only a couple of them have actually taken color. And while these are much smaller than the peppers that have formed on the one in the container out front, I think that's just going to be the case for the first ones that were kind of forming when it was in the basement. All of the new growth, I think, would probably have the better ones. Unfortunately, the season's a little short, so I just don't know if they're going to make it or not. Grew well, though. Next is the sand dollar, which I still kind of think might be a Brazilian starfish. Ranks in at 50,000 Scoville. We've all seen that quite recently, so we'll just skip on to the Shishito. Here we have the Shishito pepper that's been growing, kind of blocking our rhubarb transplant, protecting it as it were. Seems to be pretty decent production on here. A couple of sad winter leaves, but nice size to the pepper there. Nice size to that one there. Yeah, I think it'll be worth trying to regrow these if I've got more seeds downstairs. Have to check, have to check. Can always try saving some of these, but with so many varieties growing around them, who knows what I would get. This one did well though. Sadly, our next three peppers, the Charleston, the Thai Dragon, and the Indian Juala, all are no longer with us, so we'll scratch those off. Start looking at some habaneros. So next up we have the orange habanero. This little guy I planted from seed is just not done well at all, but it is technically still alive. Don't think I'm going to bother trying to transplant this one, but I might because I'm particularly fond of the orange habanero when it's dried, so we'll see. So next we've got the Big Sun habanero. Again, it's not an overly large plant, but we do see the beginnings of a couple of peppers on here. Beginnings of quite a few peppers, really, but not quite sure my season is long enough for this guy, or any habanero for that matter, but we'll see. This has a very good chance of being taken inside, depending on how many containers I can find. It was one of those viewer gifted seeds. I do like to keep those alive as long as I can, hence the sand dollar. Next we have the Weary Weary, nice compact yet bushy little plant. Lots of late season production on here. This ranks in at apparently 100 to 350,000 Scoville, but I don't know if I'm going to get much of an opportunity to find out from this particular plant because it is already September. I have one of these in a container, but it doesn't look anywhere near as pretty as this one. So there may be a switch out there. Ultimately, we're just going to have to wait and see what I do. But I'd like to get a lot of these in the basement. I really, really would. Which brings us next to the MOA Scotch bonnet, another variety that ranks apparently somewhere in the 100 to 350 range, which is kind of a broad range if you ask me. But looking at this plant here, we see no real production. I mean, there's a flower on there. This does not look like something that's going to want to try and really work with the local environment that I've got. Perhaps once I've got a greenhouse to work with, I'll try regrowing this one. Until then, I think I'll keep the seeds somewhere cool and dry, you know. Next up we have the Trinidad Congo pepper. A lot of late season production on here, far too late for what I've got growing on, but there are a couple of promising looking little peppers on there. Again, it's one of the many that I'm thinking about taking in, because it looks like if it were given, you know, an extra year or so, like that sand dollar, this thing would load heavy with some serious peppers. And it's in the 150 to 300 Scoville range, so some good heat in there, So these are downstairs and not doing particularly well, but that's just my bad. Brings us to the chocolate habanero, which would be this one here. I'd say it's probably the largest of the habanero varieties that are growing. And we do have a couple of peppers in there. We have some late season starts there. From what I can remember though, habaneros kind of grow in waves. It'll grow up and produce a bit, and then it'll grow another stage up and another stage up, and given the opportunity they become big beautiful tree type plants. So this one is another one that is on the, I don't know, I might just try and bring it in list. Still haven't tried a chocolate habanero pepper, so I'd really like to change that, you know. That brings us to the red ghost scorpion. According to a quick Google search, 800,000 Scoville units for these peppers. Nothing to try on here. Nice compact little plant, lots of very late season production. This one I'm definitely going to try and take downstairs. It's got a nice shape to it, and like I said, lots of late season production, so if I can nurse it back to life and get it into growing mode again, it should be a pretty good crop, I think. Beside that, we've got the yellow scorpion with a little damage from the cold already. It had that one misshapen pepper on it, but that's all it's produced for me this year. I don't think this one's going to go downstairs. Frankly, I expected it to do a lot better with the front yard opportunity it had. Next up is the red ghost, all by its lonesome. Apparently 800 to a million, or 800,000 I should say, to a million Scoville units. Again, a nice compact, sort of bushy little plant. The beginning of late season production on there. This one I am definitely going to try and bring in, just because, you know, ghost peppers and all. Hopefully we can get something out of it. Just going to have to wait and see, really. Did alright. Would probably do better in a greenhouse, like so many of these peppers. Some did well though. Some did surprisingly well. Sadly, the chocolate ghost and the yellow brain strain there, neither of those peppers made it, but the yellow ghost got 2 of those. The one growing in the soil patch garden has a couple of nice traditional looking yellow ghost peppers growing on it. Nice compact little plant, plenty of late season attempts at production. So many of these peppers would be great if only I had another 2 or 3 months I could work with. The greenhouse is going to make a huge difference when I get around to that. But all in all, I'm pretty pleased with this one. And the yellow ghost that's growing in the container out front is worth looking at too. More of an orange to these though. I was kind of expecting a yellowy, yellow pepper. But I actually like the spice that goes along with the orange colored peppers. So this is actually kind of exciting. Very much hoping it survives going back into the dungeon from whence it came. But it's not getting transplanted to go there, so it should be a little bit less of a shock, right? That's what I'm telling myself anyway. Which brings us to the last few peppers on the list here. We've got 2 of these Jay's Peach Ghost Scorpion in the soil, so let's go check out one of those. So I brought out 2 of these Jay's Peach Ghost Scorpion plants, and you can see this one here didn't do particularly well. However, the one just beside and behind it, a very nice looking plant. These peppers apparently rank in at the 900,000 Scoville. So, yeah, yet another pepper for the... I kind of think I'd like to transplant this and bring it into the dungeon, but I just don't know how much room I've got, how much light I've got, how many things will survive. Short season gardening. The struggle is real. Unfortunately, no Trinidad Scorpion Yellow survivors, but I do have an MA Wartrix right there. Let's take a look at that puppy. A nice compact little plant. Again, a lot of late season production. These super hot peppers look like they're also a super long season pepper thing, but I've got a couple of little tiny ones on here. I know there are a couple of folks that are desperate to see me eat one of these puppies, perhaps even talk shocks into it. I can see why though. 1 to 1.2 million Scoville, apparently. Got a nice little tree trunk going on there. A lot of new growth coming up. I'm hoping it survives the ... transplant. Yeah, looks like it would be a very productive pepper given the opportunity. And that brings us to one of the last 2 peppers on the list. This is the open pollinated reaper. Out of all of the ones that I planted, this is the one that survived. You can see a lot of, again, very late season production. I am absolutely most definitely trying to transplant this one. It's got a nice thick solid stem to it. Good sturdy plant. Lots of fresh growth coming off the bottom and the main stem. Should do just fine with the pruning, I hope, because I would really, really like to get some peppers off of this. It's been quite a journey with these reapers so far. And that brings us to the last pepper plant on the list. Well, the last surviving pepper plant anyway. We have the Primo. Look at that. She's a beautiful plant. I'll definitely say that for this particular specimen. Don't worry, I'm not under attack. They just run the siren at noon and at 6 for some reason. Every day. Anywho, a lot of late season production on this. Absolutely going to be trying to transplant this one into the jungle. It's got beautiful color to it. Really nice shape. And yeah, at 1.5 to 2.2 million Scoville. There's a tasting video in that needs to happen. Alright, well there you have it folks, that's the end of the listed peppers on the clipboard. I did notice there are quite a few varieties out there that for some reason aren't on the list. Maybe I couldn't find values for them, I don't know. But I assure you they're doing fairly well. If you're still with me at this point, wow, thank you so much for sticking around as we take a look at what did and did not do well in the pepper garden this year. Alright everybody, like I said, there are tastings coming up. I promise. I got mad busy last week, but it was a good week. So, yeah, they're coming up soon. I promise. See you around, everybody.